Hi, welcome back to my views and news. More news stories for you from Ethiopia. Firstly, Debre Markos, East Gojam. What is the latest situation there? Reportedly, a drone strike has been carried out by Ethiopian Air Force in Debre Markos. Drone strikes are now being conducted frequently by Ethiopian Air Force, but I have not seen a single statement from the government confirming use of drones on Fano fighters. So last night Ethio 360 took a Fano spokesperson on air, and that Fano spokesperson laid out a precondition for talks with the government. Who is this Fano spokesperson? And what is the precondition? Is Ethio 360 trying to propagate its own preconditions for talks with the government? Firstly, viewers, Debre Markos, East Gurjam. What is happening in Debre Markos these minutes? For the last 3 days, there has been heavy fighting in Debre Markos city. Read a video yesterday, day before yesterday, kept you updated. Fighting is in Debre Markos. On the streets of Debre Markos, the battles are being fought. Fano fighters are in control of some parts of Debre Markos. Military in control of high places, strategic places. That is why Fano fighters are at a disadvantage. But they are not retreating from Debre Markos. They have decided to deploy their strength, all their strength, to retake Debre Markos or to make Debre Markos totally destabilized. There is no government, by the way, in Gojam and Debre Markos. It's Fano versus Ethiopian National Defense Force. No traffic because there are street fights ongoing between Fano and ENDF there. Mobile networks almost totally blocked in Debre Markos. Water supply system disrupted. Hospitals partially working. Water supplies to hospitals disrupted too. Markets closed, banks closed, shops closed. People staying indoor. Why? Because obviously the streets are seeing fighting, so they cannot go out. This is the overall situation. Meanwhile, one drone strike has been confirmed today on Debre Markos. Target, obviously, Fano fighters. Several drone strikes now have been conducted on Fano fighters since the start of the conflict in the Amhara region. Fano Silam was hit, Nambicha was hit, Diga Demote was hit, Debre Markos was hit. There were some drone strikes close to big cities in North Shore too. So drones are being used by Ethiopian Air Force, but drone strikes in just two zones, Gojam and North Shore. And I have been sharing my assessment with you that it's due to the position of GCS of these drones. GCS is either in Valaga or in Bishafto. That is why from Bishafto and Valaga, mainly North Shore of Amhara and Gojam of Amhara are accessible, reachable. No drone strikes in South Gondar. No drone strikes in South Volo. So it's mainly due to, I think, limitations being faced by Ethiopian Air Force in terms of deployment of GCS for conducting these drone strikes. Target Fano fighters, but whenever drone strikes are conducted, we hear propaganda from pro-Fano news outlets. They say civilians have been killed. Civilians are being targeted. From day one, I have been telling you that drone strikes are targeting Fano fighters. Drone strikes targeted Tigray fighters in Tigray war, but Tigray always spread a narrative that civilians were being massacred in drone strikes. Drone strikes targeted Ola fighters too in Oromia. Again, Ola propagated a narrative that civilians were being hit. Military does not hit civilians in drone strikes. Drone strikes are always precise hits, and purpose is to take out, to neutralize leaders, Fano leaders. So I don't agree with the reporting of these Amhara news outlets. I disagreed with pro-Tigray news outlets too, pro-Ola news outlets too. Again, here I disagree. Target is Fano. It's difficult to differentiate between killed people. Unarmed youths are part of Fano too. And different Fano units are they have been tasked with different responsibilities. Some are in charge of supplying logistics, some are supplying weapons, some are involved in reconnaissance activities. All these are part of Fano. Having said that, I oppose civilian casualties in drone strikes, though it's difficult to say for sure how many civilians have been killed because it's difficult to distinguish between civilians and Fano fighters. Drone strike on Fano fighters in Debre Markos. Overall, Debre Markos is a battleground. Gajam's most important city is a battleground. Road obviously closed, Gujam to Fano. The other road, Fano, Debre work to Adith road closed as well. So that is the situation which we have come to know of in Gujam. Secondly, a very interesting precondition shared by a Fano representative last night. Ethio 360 journalists, Haptamo and others, they took a Fano representative live last night. That representative laid out a precondition for talks with the government. Some government statements have been mentioning need for peace in Amhara, though we have not seen any concrete effort from government side to talk to Fano fighters. We only saw some statements of Yunus Adai, who is head of National Dialogue Commission, who said that his commissioners had sought approval from the government to talk to groups, armed groups in Amhara, Fano, Ola, etc. and that these talks going to start. Basically, no meaningful effort from government to talk to Fano fighters. Fano fighters have been rejecting talks. We have seen statements from some Fano commanders saying that no question of talks, no point in talks with the government because target is 4 kilo. Abi should be removed. Now, this Fano representative who was taken live by Ethio 360 is unknown to me. Fano does not have one representative, one spokesperson. That representative, that spokesperson laid out a precondition. He said, yes, Fano is ready to talk to the government. Only one precondition. That is, PM Abiy and his colleagues must leave the country. If they agree that they are leaving the country, then talks can be held. Now, this precondition is ridiculous. It means no talks. Now, Ethio 360 journalists, they keep on taking people live, claiming that the people are from Fano or they are ordinary civilians in the Amhara region. We actually don't know who these speakers are who speak with the Ethio 360 people. I have not seen any big major Fano name saying that talks can only be held after PM Abiy's departure from Ethiopia. It seems that Ethio 360 people have their own agenda too. That is why maybe government wants action against these journalists, because they are not covering the news, the developments in Ethiopia impartially. A journalist definitely has inclinations, loyalties, but when it comes to reporting, his reporting is always neutral and fair. That is why he's a journalist. He isn't an activist and isn't a political party worker. I have been saying that these journalists cross limits. That is why government is after them. The YouTube channels closed, and Ethiopian government announced to start legal proceedings against them. One journalist was arrested in Djibouti, and these people have also been target of government's actions. But Ethiopian government obviously has limited reach when it comes to holding these journalists accountable who are living in the US. But these journalists cross boundaries. Fano's, if this is the precondition of Fano fighters for talks, it means that Fano fighters don't want to talk. So far, the two sides are hoping that they can win through military means. No interest shown in talks by the government and by Fano fighters. Both are pursuing military option. Fano fighters believe they can weaken the government, they can make regional government dysfunctional. They have already done that. And they can make federal government dysfunctional too. They can bring the PM and his colleagues to their knees. Government believes that Fano fighters can be handled. Fano factions can be eradicated. And sooner or later, government should neutralize these Fano factions for peace and security. So both sides, by the way, a few days ago I said that groups in Ethiopia start talks when they get tired of fighting, when they have almost no resources, when they have no recruits, then they call for peace. That is what we saw in Tigray war. Here, so far, no fatigue. Both sides ready to continue the fight. Sane voices are missing. We need those voices which call for peace. We need loud voices calling for peace. So far, such voices are missing or they have been silenced. Tigray suffered in the 2-year-long war, silent, watching like a spectator. Oromia wants a weak Amhara, and they know that Amhara region is becoming weak. Amhara's split, but Fano has tremendous support. That is the overall situation. Other ethnic groups have less leverage when it comes to national level of politics. Thank you for watching.